record attempts. There are a million ways to go fast at Bonneville, as seen in every competitor's unique approach to making maximum horsepower. It's the backyard brain trust of speed tuning, and it all comes together at Speed Week, where a wide variety of entrants in every category of vehicle imaginable, from huge diesel trucks to dedicated 400-mile-an-hour streamliners to open-wheel Lakesters to classic and vintage racing motorcycles. We'll focus on the well-attended pushrod classes, where old can be new, and where the British versus American rivalry is still going strong. We'll see how these dedicated builders and racers bring their grassroots skills to bear on the challenges of high elevation, hot air, and this year's especially slippery salt. Rains came through a few days before the event, which resulted in a rather mushy racing surface. This added to the already difficult challenge of controlling a motorcycle at extremely high speed.
One of the problems of Bonneville that makes it really tough for the rider, the driver, and the tuner is when the rain comes down, the traction goes away, and it gets really scary out there for guys on fast bikes. Yesterday, a fellow that normally runs about 200 miles an hour was running 160, and the bike was loafing along in the mid-range, but the rider was at red line. Then it's not the tuner's job, then it's the rider's job.
There are two courses marked out on the flats, a 7-mile course for vehicles that go faster than 175 miles per hour, and the shorter 4-mile run for the slower machines. To set a record, you must take 2 consecutive runs whose average speed exceeds the existing record over the time section of the course. And this is the time of day that makes Bonneville so special. The pre-dawn moments where nervous tuners and riders ready their machines for their record runs. Qualifying bikes have been impounded overnight, and now the cool, dense morning air is a real benefit to internal combustion. It offers the best conditions for attaining maximum speed.
The engines are going to make as much power as they're going to all day long. In the afternoon, hot air, it's not as much, it's not as dense, not as much oxygen. The engine just can't make the power. So this morning is going to be the best you're going to see out of these bikes.
A total of 60 entrants showed up to contest the motorcycle records this year, which was the 51st year in a row of organized competition, continuing a long tradition of two-wheel top speed runs.
And we'll take a look back at some of the fastest bikes of the century, plus meet this year's record setters when American Thunder returns. Welcome back to American Thunder. Each year for over half a century, hundreds of motorsports enthusiasts have gathered on the dry salt flats of Bonneville to push their machines to the limit of performance and durability. American Thunder's Mike Moran brings us up to speed on the fascinating history of motorcycles on the salt.
The grassroots need for speed is no different now than it was 50 years ago, when American V-twins squared off against their counterparts for worldwide bragging rights. American racers with dirt track experience had an advantage going in because in many ways the salt created the same traction challenges as the dirt. Still, the horsepower made by the high-revving and lighter-weight British bikes earned them a series of victories, including this Triumph Thunderbird that set the Class C record of 132 miles an hour back in 1951. There was never any shortage of ingenuity in the 50s, and this unfaired machine, with its twin Harley motors, is certainly proof of that. It was called the Monster and was capable of 157 miles an hour. In 1956, Johnny Allen piloted this streamlined Triumph to an incredible 214 miles an hour, a record that stood for 6 years. These were the days of anything goes, where riders would literally belly flop on their bikes to help cheat the win. Harley's best shot came in 1958. Whoa, after a start that was tough on the tuner, Jim Hunter's streamlined Brute reached 224 miles an hour. But he flipped it on the return run and missed Johnny Allen's record.
To continue the legacy of these traditional bikes, the Southern California Timing Association carefully controls the levels of modification permitted in its numerous vintage pushrod classes. so, many of those same bikes of yesteryear are still out on the salt, being piloted by riders who know they're grabbing a little piece of history every time they twist the throttle.
The knowledge of the ancients is being recovered. You know, we've got these guys out here who are 50, 60 years old, and they're driving motorcycles that they drove when they were young. And they knew how to tune them, and it's something that maybe the younger generation has lost. But now they're coming back out here and they're going fast. They're going 160, 180, now approaching 200 miles an hour with these motorcycles that were made 30, 40, 50 years ago.
A prime example of this, and one of the oldest bikes to show up, was this 1929 Indian Model 101 Scout. Eric Vaughn spent 300 hours building this machine up from parts. He runs it both with and without its aerodynamic fairing, which allows him to go after multiple records. His biggest challenge? Getting this ancient power plant to burn its fuel efficiently at over 6,000 feet elevation.
These older engines with the low compression are real hard to read the tune on. They don't color the spark plug like a regular high compression engine, so you got to kind of chisel your way through. The bike, the chassis is all stock. It has 39 Sport Scout cylinders. Otherwise, it's a 29 Indian. It's perfectly comfortable at speed. I'm only 56 cubic inches at one carb and gas. The only thing that's really modern on is the tires. Otherwise, it's all old parts.
With his streamlined fairing in place, Eric's jewel-like Scout kicked up the record in his class by 8 miles an hour to 125.207. Nearly as old as Eric's Indian, and almost as fast, was this 1935 BSA A10. Terry Lewis campaigns it in the class called 750cc Modified Vintage Partial Streamlined Gas.
Yesterday, I qualified with a speed of 124.9. This morning, the run was very smooth up until about the second mile, and then there was a couple of bumps, and I ran 128.1, which gave me an average of 126, just over 126 for a new record.
Truly a great speed for a bike more than 60 years old. Another older machine that can run the ton and then some is Bob Baumgartner's 1953 Triumph Thunderbird. He's been a lover of the Triumph mark since he was a little kid.
Well, what attracted me to Triumph was when I was growing up as a kid. Triumph held all the speed records out here. And that's one of the reasons my first machine was a 53 Triumph Thunderbird. So when I retired 10 years ago, I started coming out here and built 2 bikes up. I run in modified partial streamlined push rod fuel class. I got a 1953 Triumph frame with a 1956 pre-unit engine. A pre-unit engine is when the engine is separate from the transmission. The total displacement is 800 cc, just strictly with the bore. It has Harman & Collins full race drag cams in it, 10.5 to 1 pistons. I'm using the concentric carburetors, modified for fuel. I'm using the later crankshaft, which is a lot stronger. Transmission is a rare 4-speed close ratio gearbox. First gear is like taking off in second gear, and once you get going, second, third, and fourth are very close together, so your RPM doesn't drop down below your horsepower curve. So you can keep your RPM way up there, and it really helps you with the speed out here. I was only revving to 6,500 because I was concentrating. I was bouncing around so much out there that I really couldn't watch the tack that close. The course was real rough this year.
Despite the roughness, Bob managed to hang on till his 800cc Thunderbird reached a top speed of 122.852 miles an hour, and that's a new class record. And representing the pride of Milwaukee, Bob Henning's 1947 UL was one of the oldest Harleys at the meet. Entered in the unlimited vintage class, his refreshed side valve motor is housed in a stretched frame with modern running gear.
Had the bike 39 years. When I was a kid, I bought it. That's the motor out of the bike, and I still ride that bike. Just got a different motor in now, so still having fun with the same machine. Bumped up the carburetor jets quite a bit yesterday. Made a big difference. It used to be real stable. Now it's pretty wild because we used to get 5,000 RPMs. Now all of a sudden we're getting 6,400, so it's cooking a little harder than it used to.
Bob's hybrid flathead Harley managed a corrected top speed of 118.345 miles an hour. Unfortunately, not a record. But Bob tells us he'll be back to run again next year.
We'll take a closer look at the Harley versus Triumph Battle of the Brands when American Thunder returns. Welcome back to American Thunder and our visit to Bonneville. Since the first Speed Week 51 years ago, there's been no love lost between riders who chose American machines and those who picked British bikes for their record runs. As expressions of their passion for a brand, the long-standing but mostly friendly rivalry of Triumph versus Harley continues with today's riders.
Even though the V-twin Harleys and the vertical twin Triumphs are lumped together in the pushrod class, they make their power in significantly different ways. Which one is better? Well, that comes down to taste and style.
Harleys tend to be a little bit slower revving. Longer stroke is probably the major factor there. British engines a little bit higher revving, a little bit peakier. Gear them a little bit lower to take advantage of the higher RPM capacity. Harley motors geared a little higher. They don't turn as fast. They typically have a more torque at a lower RPM, so they're able to pull a higher gear ratio.
Jack White's 1978 Triumph Bonneville is the most recent model of the British entries in the pushrod class. His meticulous preparation matches his love for the mark and motivates him to head for the salt when Speed Week rolls around.
To me, it's an amateur sport out here, which makes it enjoyable. There's not a lot of pressure from sponsors or anything else. You do it once a year. You can talk about it 51 weeks out of the year, and you only have to perform 1 week, which appeals to me at my age. Because the motor is bored 20 thousandths overbore, I'm not eligible for the 750 class, so I have to run the 1000 cc class. It has stock Bonneville cams. The ports have been smoothed up a little bit, nothing radical.
With its independent, non-sponsored nature, land speed trials are more of a lifestyle sport than a cutthroat competition. Still, friendly rivalries among evenly matched bikes harken straight back to the head-to-head runs of years past. The toughest competition for Jack's 800cc Triumph is Fritz Kott's 1000cc Harley, which is entered in the same class.
We've got a really good competition in this pushrod class for the last several years. We've got Terry with the BSA, we've got several Triumphs here, and we're all in the ballpark speed-wise.
The main competition for Triumphs is Harley-Davidson. It's the old duel that's been going on for the last 40 years or more. And the fella in my class, he's old like I am. I hope he doesn't get mad if he hears this. But he knows what he's doing, and he's a worthy competitor. And neither one of us spend a lot of money on these things. It's just the enjoyment of competing and get to ride fast occasionally. I qualified at 117, and I hope to run about a 125 this morning. It's not a drag race. First mile, second mile, you tuck in very tight and give it as much gas as you can. It gets fairly bumpy, but hopefully you're going fast enough to where your momentum will keep you going straight.
This year, Jack ran straight for the record books with a speed of 120.686 miles an hour. Not bad considering he's giving away 200cc under the class displacement limit. With Jack's Triumph now in the A-class record books, it was Fritz's turn to head out on the Harley for his attempt.
Yeah, we qualified yesterday at 120 miles an hour and change on a open record, and I wasn't really satisfied with that time. I thought I should have gone about 5 miles an hour faster, but the course was really wet and I hit wet spots and it's just like riding through a sand trap. This morning the course was not as wet. The engine sounded a lot better. I didn't get the surging when I went through the wet spots, so I thought I was probably up around 125, but as it turns out, I was around 121 and change. So a little disappointed there. We ended up beating him by 0.2 of a mile per hour, which is too close for comfort.
If I have to give it up to anybody, Fritz he's a real decent person. He's been doing it for a long time.
Well, it seems Harley won this battle, which of course made the many fans of the American V-twin happy. In fact, the majority of pushrod bikes at this year's meet were pre-Evo Harleys. Making his 8th straight appearance at the Salt Flats with his 1955 Harley was Keenan Tatro. Keenan's classic machine with its 45-inch KR motor was originally his vintage drag racer before he converted it for land speed record runs.
It's the world's fastest flathead. It's got 152 mile an hour on my other chassis at Murrock a couple years ago. It beat out a 90-inch UL at 147. I'm only 45 inches. And this particular chassis here is my stock 55 street chassis, and it's got 119 at El Mirage with this one.
Keenan's KR, running on gas in this chassis, managed 110.35 miles an hour for a new class record. He actually brought several bikes to the flats this year, but his half a Harley definitely takes the oddball award. It's a Sportster with the front cylinder removed, allowing Keenan to run in the 500cc class. With its single-pin crankshaft, the Sportster motor is actually well-suited to being cut down into a thumper. Think of it as chopping the tato off potato, 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 and you get... It may not have been the fastest machine on the flats, but Keenan's half-hearted Harley captured an open record at 93.893 miles an hour. All in all, it was a hugely successful trip for the San Diego native as he rode away with a total of 6 records this year.
We'll see more Harleys tear up the flats when American Thunder returns. So don't go away. Welcome back to American Thunder. Unlike handlebar-to-handlebar racing, the wide-open space of the Bonneville Salt Flats finds racers in a solitary quest for personal glory and international recognition. And certainly, Harley enthusiasts are key members of this fraternity. The long tradition of surprisingly fast Harleys continued at this year's event.
Well, the wonderful thing about Bonneville for the Harley-Davidsons is this is a living history. We've got the panheads, we've got the knuckleheads, we've got the shovelheads, we've got the evolution bikes, and the Salt doesn't care what kind of engine you've got. It's the rider and it's the brain of the tuner.
One of those bikes is John Steeg's converted Harley dragster.
It's an old 1969 Sportster iron head. It's got the iron cylinders and iron heads. The class it's running is altered pushrod fuel. It's only got about 90 cubic inches, so it's under the class limit. I had to put in new barrels, which cost me quite a bit this year because the Salt started to eat up the old ones, so I got new barrels and pistons. It's got a lightweight Sirianni road race forks on it that are raked down quite a bit. It was built for the drag course, and the frame's real light and the forks are light, which gives you added stability going down. But when this course gets bumpy, the forks are really built too light, and that's kind of a worry. We did 143 yesterday. It can do a lot faster than that, and I'm still dialing in the fuel injection. I put on a bigger pump this year, you know.
John got his new fuel system working famously, and the old iron head soldiered up to a new class record of 145.332 miles an hour. There's nothing like the sound of a fully stroked big twin first thing in the morning. Fritz Klinger's engines are pushed right to the edge for maximum power.
We've burned up a numerous amount of engines. In fact, yesterday, we just burned up a piston in an engine, and this is our backup engine now. And we've only got one run on it at 163 miles an hour. We measured the horsepower on a dyno. Wheel horsepower was 127 horsepower. This engine here is a 118 cubic inch motor, so we're in the 2000 cc class. The other motor that we burned up yesterday was 121 cubic inch.
This motor may have survived, but was only good for 163 miles an hour. Sorry, Fritz, no record this year.
Who had the fastest Sportster at Speed Week? Find out when American Thunder returns.
Welcome back to American Thunder. You know, a stock mid-80 Sportster will top out at about 100 miles an hour. So building one into a far faster land speed champ takes an enormous amount of modification.
My bike started life as a 1986 Harley-Davidson Sportster, 883 cc's, which is about 55 cubic inches. It's gone through kind of a considerable evolution to today, some 3 or 4 years later. It is a full-blown, very highly modified, though very durable and robust racing engine. Puts out over a horsepower and a half per cubic inch, and it has a overboard engine, shortened stroke, aftermarket performance cams, head work, milled or machined combustion chambers, flowed heads, just about everything you could possibly do, plus a few proprietary speed tricks inside that I don't really care to talk about right at the moment. I'm running on a record that's about 127 miles an hour. It was set a few years ago. I qualified yesterday at 150.7, and I'm out this morning to try to duplicate that run and take the record. Basically, this bike does real well. I let it kind of do its thing out there. I just crank the throttle.
Sounds simple? It can be if you're like Don and know exactly what you're doing. His heavily modified machine set a new record at 146.675 miles an hour.
I hope you enjoyed our look at this year's Bonneville Speed Week. I'm always amazed at the determination and ingenuity displayed by the Speed Week participants. And the wide variety of pushrod categories really means you can slap a number on your bike and head for the salt. I'm Michelle Smith. We'll see you next time on American Thunder.